whenever you started in politics, I'm sure that there was like a real idea of like one person can really affect change, right? Do you think that that's still possible today with like a lot of the lobbies and stuff that they have that goes on?
Well, I think, one of the points I think everybody knows is you have a government dominated by big money interests, right? That's no great secret. So you have these billionaires now in their super PACs. If you're a billionaire, you can contribute hundreds of millions of dollars to elect people, to feed people. If you're a large corporation or you represent the pharmaceutical industry, do you know how many lobbyists there are in Washington, D.C. representing the big drug companies? Take a wild and crazy guess.
2,000.
You got it. That's a pretty good guess. About 1,800.
Wow.
So there are 100 members of the Senate and 435 members of the House. Got it? 535. And you got 1,800 lobbyists. Well-paid, former leaders of the Democratic Party, leaders of the Republican Party. They're there to say, hey, Congress, do everything you can to make sure we make as much money as possible, and who gives a damn whether people can afford the prescription drugs they need. So that's power.
So you have a whole other drug government almost going on.
Absolutely.
That's even bigger than our own government. Numbers-wise.
Well, not big. We can define what we mean by bigger. But
that's fair.
But if you look at Wall Street, the power of Wall Street, the drug companies, the insurance companies, the fossil fuel industry, you have enormous wealth, enormous power. And if your question is it government that tells them what to do, or they tell what the government to do? More the latter. They tell the government what to do. Very powerful.
Does it feel like that's changed over your time, like in politics, or has it always been that way?
I think to some degree, money talks, right?
Yeah.
No great secret. That's always been the case. It's worse now, and I'll tell you why. As a result of this Citizens United Supreme Court decision, you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
So people brought action. Billionaires really brought action. They said, hey, it's undemocratic. You're taking away my freedom of speech, right? I got a First Amendment right. We're on TV now. You could say whatever you want to say, and I'm a billionaire, and I want to spend unlimited sums of money to defeat this candidate or support this candidate, and you have laws on the books now which restrict my freedom to buy the election. You understand what I'm saying?
100%.
Okay. And the Supreme Court said, well, guys, you're right. You're billionaires. You should be able to spend as much money as you want to buy elections. And that's what you have. So right now, this is literally the truth. You have super PACs where billionaires can put unlimited amounts of money, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to defeat people they don't like or to support people they do like. That's power. And that is a corruption of what democracy is supposed to be. Look, you and I can disagree on an issue, all right? 10 people. We argue it out, we vote, I get the majority, you get the majority, somebody wins, somebody loses. I don't think billionaires should be able to buy elections.
And I think most people think that. Most people are like, why are corporations or companies allowed to like give money to candidates and influence elections, right? Almost every person I know says that should be no. Whose responsibility is it to make sure it doesn't happen? Is it ours or is it the politicians?
Well, what happened is there were laws put in place, not as strong as I would like, but did limit the power of big money.
Yeah.
Okay. And what that Supreme Court decision said is what Congress did was unconstitutional, denied big money their freedom of speech. If you're a billionaire, you have freedom of speech. That means you can run ads all over the day and to beat Bernie Sanders, beat anybody. And that's what happened. So what we have got to do now is once again pass legislation that will do that.
Are there politicians that aren't viable, kind of? Or aren't influenced by lobbyists?
Of course there are.
There are.
Yeah. And there's some very good people. But many people, look, just throw out an example. You're running for election, okay? Your opponent is spending millions of dollars. These TV ads are up there, all right? Do you think you're going to stand up to powerful special interests who say, Theo, listen, I like you, but you're going to take that position on that issue. I got to be running millions of dollars of ads against you. What do you think you're going to do if you want to get elected? You could say, well, go to hell. I'm going to do it anyhow. And many would do. Or you run the risk of, seeing that kind of money come against you.
Or you then have to find a lobbyist that has an interest of yours and you have to try and fight back.
Which is a pretty pathetic thing, right?
Right.
So to some degree, what you have right now, it's a funny kind of thing. It's, let's say you were running against me. It's not you against me. It's your moneyed interest versus my moneyed interest. That's what super PACs are.
Yeah.
Now, corporations cannot directly contribute to your campaign, but they big money interests, billionaires, can contribute to a super PAC. So you have all these, what I would say to you, people watch the show here, look at the ads that are on television. They'll be underneath it. You'll see paid for by supporters of the American way of life or whatever the hell it is. Understand that in most cases, these are billionaires putting money into a candidate.
So the super PAC is kind of the loophole.
Yep.
Is how they do it. So it's not directly from them.
Exactly. There are limits. All right, you wanted to contribute to my campaign. They're pretty stringent limits. You can't contribute. I think it's $5,000. Through a super PAC, you can contribute $100 million.
Wow.
That's a big issue. We don't talk about it enough. And then you can understand that if you're an ordinary person, who's going to listen to your interests, your needs, right? When billionaires are putting in this kind of money.
Right. If the best I can help you out with is $5,000, you might show up and shake my hand, but when the rickshaw hits the road or whatever, you're going to be working for the big dogs for the cash.
You got it. That's the way the system works.
And how do we change that?
Well, first of all, this campaign finance reform is a big deal. Just this one issue, and I'm glad you raised it. We got to do away with the citizens unit. We have to have restrictions. Okay. When I ran for president, the average contribution was $27. Okay. Roughly speaking, and we've got millions of people to contribute. So I think there has to be a real stringent limit on the amount of money that any individual can put into the political process. And I also believe that we should move to what we call public funding of elections. You're a candidate, all right? You want to run for governor, you want to run for senator. If you show that you have a certain amount of support, you got X number of thousands of people willing to put $5 into your campaign, you can be able to get public funding, and there's a limit at how much you can spend. These are not radical ideas. They exist in many countries around the world, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. Do you think that our election process is still democratic? Do you think it's still...
Yes and no. I mean, you want to run for office. Can you? Yeah, you can. You got a certain number of signatures. But if you're going to win, and I have 10 times more money than you do, I will beat you 95% of the time.
Wow.
I mean, that's a fact, right?
Right, 100%.
You'll beat me. Maybe if you're really an exceptional candidate and I'm a real idiot, you will beat me once in a while. But by and large, the moneyed people will win. So if you're asking me, are we a democracy? In one sense, we are. All right, you can run for office. You can raise your issues. On the other hand, in terms of who has the real power, moneyed people do. And I use the term oligarchy. An oligarchy is a society where small numbers of very wealthy people control the economic and political life of the country. I think we are moving rapidly in that direction.
Yeah, I feel like to me, it feels like almost privatized communism in a way.
Right. That's a very good point. It's an interesting way of looking at it.